what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do when Tempest doesn't fight you? And the question is, nothing, you're going to lose. It's 2-0 at the moment. Tempest right now, just playing their own world, playing in their own universe. They don't even care. They're like, all right, okay, we'll play a very slow, almost lumbering style, but to the point where it must be driving Tempo Storm nuts.
I mean, it's also Tempo Storm's style is to be hyper-aggressive and look for initiation and look for fights. If you don't win the fight in 5 seconds, you're not winning the fight at all, is generally speaking how it goes for Tempo Storm. So I didn't expect Tempest to be able to adapt this quickly in a best of 5 like this and play that defensive style. But it also shows that they did a lot of preparation. I mean, this is not them messing around. This is not them disrespecting Tempo Storm. They really are respecting them in terms of drafting as well as in-game.
I think it's very impressive to see them bringing this kind of a level of strategic prowess really to the table here.
Yeah, I mean, we said at the very start of this series that there was going to be a lot of energy on both sides of the table.
Yeah.
It was going to be a bit of a blood frenzy with both teams looking to try and get those kills, but it seems to me like Tempest, in a very surgical fashion, have just extracted out all that hype to Tempo Storm. You can have your drafts, you can have your maps, you can have all your comfort picks, but you're just not going to ever be presented a situation where that can come to fruition. It feels very Genji-esque in the game, in the series, that we saw beforehand, where, you know, they play defensive, hey, we're behind, cool, we'll just play defensive until we can hit that power spike, or maybe a Storm Talent at 20, and then we'll go for the Jugular. And it's, yeah, as you say, very frustrating for Tempo Storm to see.
I think, depending on which map we're going to be going to, of course, you know, I'm not just going to throw this out there and not know what the map is, but I'm going to do it anyway before, regardless. They are constantly banning this Jaina second pit rotation. And it felt like Tempo Storm had a lot of power with that in the group stage. Do they then go to it first rotation and try and kind of throw caution to the wind here?
Maybe, but then you're missing out on so many priority picks, which can be such a big issue. The Jaina, I think the reasoning for the banning is it really kind of shuts down what Tempest are trying to do. It makes it so much harder for them to disengage, and so much harder for them to push back in. And I have it in the replay here that kind of shows actually where Tempo Storm are in a little bit of trouble. Let's pause here. You can see here, Tempest were level 7 significantly before this and before Tempo Storm, but they didn't even move on to the point until Tempo Storm were also level 7. This could be considered a mistake, but it's all about angles. They were trying to come in for the right angle and get the right moves here. So you can see down here, chilling at the bottom, lockdown, this entire time has just been pinging in shurikens, just absolutely harassing June and Fan. At this point, Fan uses natural agility, will play forward in slow motion, uses natural agility to come over the wall. Dami is in there like swimwear, coming straight after him, looking for a kill. Pause it here. You can see they've channeled them into a perfect location. Even when they do fight, they only fight on their terms and they only fight in the right area. And this is just, play it forward. You can see Tassadar just kind of wrecks everyone because Fan has no jump. June does escape, but only thanks to just a really nice intervention there by Cattle. But the fact that that fight happened on Tempest's turn, even though they waited until their opponents were on even talents, is very impressive play.
I think that's something that actually emphasized really well there, which is, as much as we look at Tassadar as, it's a second support, guys, it's a pseudo support, he actually does a ton of damage. If you are stuck and stood in a Psy Storm, that's a huge amount of damage that is slowly ticking, but ticking all the same, and it can really hurt.
Yeah, it certainly can. I just feel like with the style that Tempo Storm has played throughout this group stage, they're so good at, they're so fantastic at running these types of aggressive initiation compositions. And I think they were never really tested and never really played against a defensive style like this outside of Gen G, which wasn't even as defensive as Tempo's playing now. So they've kind of just hit a counter. They've hit a brick wall here, and they either adapt and try to go for the reverse sweep, or if they keep playing the same, well, I think that it's not going to be a happy ending for North America here in the winners bracket.
All right, we're going to Towers of Doom for game number 3 here with the 2-0 advantage currently to Tempest. Let's get into it. Game number 3. Tempo Storm has to bring it back unless they want to go into the losers bracket.
I was really wondering where Tempo Storm would actually go with this third pick, or sorry, this third map, as to would they be looking for their first pick in a draft? Would they be looking for the map pick? They've had 2 of their best maps ever since this roster came to life, unable to find those wins with those comfort comps. I was wondering, maybe along the lines of what Tetch was saying, do they get to desperation mode where they go, look, you can have whatever map you like, we'll go first pick, we'll get that Jaina, but then you leave so many options for the side of Tempest to try and abuse one, especially Sky Temple.
And the fact is there's very little information about these teams in this current meta on this map. Neither of these teams have played this map yet in this tournament. So this is going to be going in with previous tournament information and just trying to apply that to the current meta. As such, we do revert to the usual suspects here, with Abathur being the first ban here from Tempest because he is incredibly proficient on the map.
So there's a bit of a curveball here with the draft coming out from Tempest the Abathur because, sure, he's great on the map, but I think they're trying to leave more open here. Let's see what they grab first.
Garrosh.
They're not going to grab the Malfurion. They're going to grab Garrosh first in this case, which was grabbed by them in first rotation when they were second pick in game 1 because Malfurion was taken away. And now this leaves Tempo Storm with, for the first time, the opportunity to grab Malfurion and Maiev at the same time in this first rotation.
It also does leave Jaina open, but this is a 2-pick stage for Tempo Storm, so if they do prioritize Malfurion and Maiev, they will lose their opportunity at the Jaina, and I think that would be a pretty decent call for them, considering just how good those two heroes are. Even though they haven't managed to bring them to bear, bring them in together could be the clutch play.
If we take a step back here and just actually look at the adaptation in this draft by Tempo Storm banning that Tracer, immediately that first pick onto Malfurion doesn't seem anywhere near as attractive given the interaction between the two. Garrosh, obviously, Sign is fantastic on this hero, but same can be applied to Caterpillar, so they're looking to try and deny that. The Malfurion almost seems a given as it's been let through the draft. I suppose it was that crux between those three, the Maiev, the Genji, and the Jaina. Jaina obviously complemented fantastically by the Innovate for that sort of shotgun style of play, but it would be a very risky 1-2 slot for them.
I'd love to see Tempest ban the Hanzo going forward here, pick the Hanzo and ban the Jaina going forward here so they can have neither the Jaina nor the Hanzo. Because if you do have the Jaina with this composition, it's very difficult to deal with, very difficult to survive with your backline because you get blown up so quickly. But the same could be true of the initiation power that Hanzo has. And in this situation where the Genji is picked early, you have the ability to really make sure that both high priority DPSs that Tempo's been running with comps like this are not available. So that's the first pick advantage you have here, and I think Tempest would do well to use it.
So we still are waiting for the supports as well, so we still have the majority of them open. Blaze running with the solo lane first. Do they pick the Hanzo? No, they go straight into their support, bringing out the Stukov. I kind of agree with you. I think the Hanzo would have been pretty nice here, denying that engage potential. Double Shimada is very popular, but the Jaina would have been available. Even Li Ming, if they wanted to go for a very classic double reset composition, could have been brought out here, especially on a map like this, where you're going to be fighting over those altars. And we've said it about the last map, where you said this is a map where it's really hard to avoid fights. This map's even worse because the fact that the objective has a direct effect on winning the game as opposed to getting you closer to winning the game via structures.
The other thing about the Blaze pick here and the Stukov early is you don't know what you're up against just yet. You're just kind of assuming. You're playing a defensive style. You're kind of assuming that Tempo Storm's going to play the exact same that they've been showing.
Global removal.
Global ban here for Glarong and Stahako. We've seen a little bit throughout this tournament. Not on this battleground, but when you have a Hanzo and you have that as initiation, which I think Tempo Storm is absolutely going to pick up here given how they've played throughout the group stage, then you leave yourself very little time to react with the bunker. If you get caught, for example, you can't bunker, or if someone is away from Blaze and cannot get into the bunker, is caught by that arrow, the bunker just doesn't feel as effective anymore.
I think what's exciting for me, Wolf, is to see that they've actually let through the Hanzo, let through the Jaina, whether or not those are going to be the 3 and 4 pick for Tempo Storm. I mean, that would give them so much engage potential. You've got the Dragon's Arrow, followed by the Dragon's Blade, just to try and decimate any target. But realistically, if you're looking at what Tempest have so far, who would that be? Yes, the Jaina can come on through as well with that water elemental to try and slow somebody down, but Garrosh and Blaze, extremely hard to try and take down. And if Jun on Malfurion oversteps just by a small margin, he is not going to get the value with that Twilight Dream. They are going to go for the Lunara, which I prefer, to be quite honest. We've seen what it can do, and it can really delay the engage potential with those toxic poisons to allow Garrosh and Blaze to sort of get into your face.
The joy of Lunara, extra movement speed, makes it even harder for Garrosh to engage, which he already has had problems with in this tournament. Yeah. Persistent slows, persistent damage over time, and the ability to kite him forever. And then they've picked the most solid tank against Johanna as well, against Garrosh as well, the Johanna. This is a really solid opening draft for Tempo Storm.
The thing about Lunara is it also goes against the style, the aggressive style we've been talking about so much that Tempest has been countering very heavily. So it's moving towards more passivity. It's trying to play a little bit more of a a style that doesn't play into Tempest just running away and avoiding you, then taking the engage right afterwards. The problem with it, to me, is that you don't know what DPS Tempest is running. They could drop some bursts out here, and you could struggle with that with the Lunara. And also, you do know that Stukov is the support, and Stukov is going to do great against slow DPS, slow damage over time like Lunara. And so this is what the concern is. Now you have a great initiation with Hanzo, and you have Zeratul. So it's very, very difficult now for Lunara to get in position to do that damage.
I think it to be very, very concerned right now. Whilst it did look quite attractive for Tempo Storm to go to the direction that they did with that Lunara, now that you know you got the early game diving potential of the Zeratul and Hanzo, Lunara has to get, I suppose, in a very scary situation where it thinks, how much value can I really get? How far can I go forward to try and target that front line, to try and accentuate what we're going to do? It looks to me right now that Tempest Storm have a composition looking to try and slow down the aggression of Tempest and allow Salmon Genji to clean sweep and try and find those resets. Sort of the blend or the hybrid between two different styles as Tempo Storm flex their might.
When I was looking at this before the Zeratul was locked in, I was pretty sure for Tempo Storm they needed something with a little bit more hard engage, a little bit more damage as a solo laner, thinking maybe Thor with Sundering or something like that. Instead, now we need something with either peeling or sustain to actually keep Lunara alive, and that's exactly what ETC does provide. It's a very tanky lineup, but the ETC gives incredible peeling potential for the Lunara.
It also blocks retreat, so you can engage, flank with the ETC globally, get behind the retreating team, and the Lunara is just doing constant damage where it's difficult for Tempest to get out.
Combined with the unfair advantage later on.
Exactly.
So we're expecting ETC to be on the off lanes, trying to go for stage dive here.
Absolutely.
Looking for a hard engage.
Yeah, I mean, based on how much effort, I would say, Tempest put into the draft of banning away an Abathur, banning away Dahaka, being very, very scared of that global factor, thinking we don't want to get out macroed, we just want to have that straight-up team fight. We want to try and play our game that we've been doing in Game 1, in Game 2, dictate the pace. Yes, this game's put on a bit of a timer, kind of like Sky Temple, but we don't want you to sort of find that aggression where you get that bell tower, get that easy altar. I feel like this draft's a lot more close this time around.
Time for predictions.
I really enjoy the change of pace from Tempo Storm. I think honestly that this is a bit of a home run for them. They have worked out their opponent's style and have adjusted to it. I'm going for Tempo Storm.
I feel like I really enjoy what Tempo Storm have. I feel like just based on the execution and those Zeratul and Hanzo picks to try and snipe at the Lunara, it's all going to be on Johanna and ETC to try and peel for that, but I'm going to stick with my guns and go Tempest for the third time.
For the first two drafts, I felt like Tempo Storm got exactly what they wanted, and they drafted to their style, but they were out-mechanicked. Now they're trying to adapt in a best of 5 suddenly in Game 3, changing their entire style, changing their entire approach to the game. It's not something that goes well into their style. I think they've been out-drafted here. They drafted Lunara too early, and I'm actually going to switch my prediction here for potentially the final game back to Tempest.
Okay, and I will round things out with Tempest as well here for a 3-1 in total. Sorry, Tetra.
That's fine.
That's fine. Let's check in with Twitch chat as well. I imagine they'll be on your side. Never mind as well. There. Yep. Sorry, Tetra. Let's go over to the commentary team and see if they're on Tetra's side.
Help me! Sorry, Tetra.
Oh. Yeah. Looking good for Tempest by the looks of things?
Yeah, I feel like Dragonshire, the drafts were here, and then every game has just gotten wider and wider. And for this one, feels like it's a bit too much for Tempo Storm.
I'm actually scared for Tempo Storm right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm afraid to watch.
Well,
you're going to have to.
You're going to have to.
I guess I do, right? Yeah.
And you're going to have to commentate, so get on with it.
Yeah, I guess we could do that.
I mean, there is some bright spots, right? We don't normally see ETC as the offlaner. We know that it exists, especially in Europe, but here for Tempo Storm, it's not what we're used to, Gilly.
No, I don't know if I've seen any Glau games on ETC. If so, it is very rare. But let's introduce our teams in the blue, one game away from facing their rivals Genji in the winners bracket finals. It's Team Tempest. Sign playing Garrosh, good on Blaze, Hyde playing Stukov, Lockdown on Zeratul, and Dami playing Hanzo.
Gilly, Tempo Storm finds themselves down 0-2, but I guarantee the confidence is not lacking as it's going to be June on Malfurion, Psalm on Genji, Fan on Lunara, Caterpillar playing Johanna, Glaurung on ETC. Give it up for Tempo Storm.
A lot of Tempo Storm fans in the audience, and they will need the assistance, the cheers, because Tempest has looked so grand this entire tournament, and I cannot say how awesome it is enough to see Tempest do well. This is a team that will do well in the league play, and then they go to a LAN, and then they are overshadowed by Gen G, by Ballistics even as well when you look at the Eastern Clash. But finally, Tempest looks so strong and look to be one of the top contenders of this tournament, and it is awesome to see this group of players find this kind of success.
Right now, I'm sure we'll see another semi-slow start here, I think, for both of these teams. I mean, when you look at a Johanna composition, you don't necessarily have that hard engage. ETC really is going to be having a struggling time in that top lane against the Blaze. Will probably warrant Genji to rotate up to assist there. And I wonder if Tempest can maybe exploit that, find an opportunity in that rotation, and see if they can maybe get a few early game kills, unless Tempo Storm is able to find similar success with that Genji.
Things get better for ETC at level 7, gets some more damage. And then at level 10, once he can get stage dive, as it's likely to have, it's generally what you see when you see ETC chosen as the solo laner. And it's cool to see this adjustment from Tempo Storm, given how much they like to have a global in the top lane on Towers of Doom. Try to bring down Glaurung's Dahaka as a way of invading versus opponent sappers. It's just that that's going to come a little bit later, since he doesn't get his heroic until level 10.
Well, there's a little bit of aggression coming out. As you can see, Psalm hitting that swift strike onto Dami, but Stukov quick on the heels there. Hyde going to keep people alive, and you know, it will be interesting because we have a very aggressive composition of Tempest, and if we can see Psalm get to that backline, take care of Dami, then we might be looking at a different game. So it will be interesting to see the clash of styles and whether Tempo Storm, their lack of aggression, Gilly, has been evident in games 1 and 2, and we'll see if maybe they can turn up the pace a little bit here, maybe turn up the tempo.
I think they could. Your jokes continue to impress, my friend. You and I were talking about Fan and his Lunara and how little leaping strike we have seen at this event, but with so much pure harassment and dive capabilities between Good's Blaze and, of course, the Zeratul too. Do you expect the Thornwood Vine to still be the choice of heroic ability for Fan?
I feel like it's a little too common. I think in this scenario, especially when you have the Zeratul, obviously Thornwood Vines, you might be able to get the dismount by sniping them, but I feel that once he gets revealed, you're going to want that mobility to, he's obviously going to have Vorpal. He's obviously going to be able to stay on you, but I really feel that having that single target damage to keep that Zeratul honest, because he's going to be searching for heals. Stukov is not a point-and-click healer. You have to be in that rotation of that healing pulse going around, so we'll see. I am a fan, though, of the leaping strike.
I am too, and a lot of the times we're seeing Lunara played on Tomb of the Spider Queen, Battlefield of Eternity, and trying to be able to put out that poison on the web weavers to clear them out quickly, or to poke safely on the turn-in points, and then of course for the Immortal is why we've seen that so much. So I'm expecting here, you know, there is a Thornwood Vine you can poke same way on the altar safely as with the turn-in points for Tomb, but I'm kind of feeling the same, a leaping strike here.
Right now, bottom altar still continue to be channeled here by Psalm, on and off. Is seeing we have the interrupt there as Psalm comes down, but both Zeratul and ETC have remained in the top, and Sign, he'll look for an opportunity, and the kill potential does sometimes rely. Nice root there.
Lovely root.
See if Sign's able to get out of there. Healing Pulse is already down. Deflect trying to get the takedown. Enough poison damage. Instead, they get the return kill on the Genji Gilly.
Now that was very well done. The lurking arm, everything done in a way. The deflect tried to give the last bit of damage, but a heal at the last second keeps Sign alive. Now Jet Propulsion, but the Iron Skin was already out, so Cattle lives. But unfortunately for Tempo Storm, a lot of work put into stopping that altar from being taken by Tempest, and they lose it, putting them 4 shots behind in core health.
Really trying to get in there, and Gilly, we're seeing a different talent picked up here by Lunara, getting some of that extra damage. You have that poison on those targets. That Noxious Blossom can do some bonus damage, so if you're going up against the one good spread at level 4 picked up there by Stukov, it can be sometimes a little bit difficult to get value out of that Splintered Spear, so changing it up there. Maybe in that last instance where we saw Garrosh pretty much walk away, this is an opportunity to say, look, I don't want that to happen again. So we'll see how this plays out.
Exactly right. Having the Choking Pollen do bonus damage to enemies that have the poison on them, and then having that extra burst when you have the max stacks of poison. And that is a great adjustment versus a Stukov. We even were looking at each other about seeing a Lunara picked into a Stukov because of the spread healing, that healing pathogen bio-kill switch of Stukov has. So here's an adjustment from Tempo Storm. Makes me think even further that we're gonna see Leaping Strike as more of that burst of damage and trying to follow up so that this time Tempo Storm can get kills off of the engagements that they go after, which has plagued them this entire series.
Glaurung respectably has held his own in the top there. As you can see, Good just kind of hanging out in the bush. You know, he was going up against Zeratul there, but once level 10 hits, you can imagine that it will be that stage dive. Getting some global control in this game could allow those opportunities. Then also allow you to get on that Stukov, who's going to be dropping that lurking arm. Seeing if you can get the stage dive on that back line and maybe get that engage that you've been looking for. I think for Tempo Storm, that'll be a welcome sight, but we're going to have to flip over Sign. He's going to see if he can find an opportunity. The Condemn goes down and the Roots in return, but 10 rapidly approaching here for Tempest.
Yeah, not only 10, but now with Iron Skin down, this is a little bit more problematic for Tempo Storm in trying to delay this altar, but they do have good poke. They have the poke of Genji with the shurikens, also the flashlight of Caterpillar. And nobody from Tempest has stepped forward quite yet, trying to see if they can get 10 ahead of channeling that altar so that they have the advantage from there. Maybe get a team fight on anyone who steps their toe slightly out of position for the channel. There's the channel. Iron Skin, Sign, way far forward. This is a free altar for Tempest. 4 more shots on Tempo Storm's core.
The position of Sign there was very, very good because you could see Cattle, slight hesitation, contemplated potentially going in, but he had already used his Iron Skin. Note if he had taken a couple extra steps too far in, that taunt would have been there. Potential death would have happened there. So good discipline by Caterpillar, but even better positioning by Sign to make sure and secure that. But level 10 here, Good, hiding in the bush. We're going to see if he engages here. Instead, he's just going to walk away.
Yeah, they saw Tempo Storm gravitate toward the center in that mid. Tempest maybe looking for a fight, or at least wanting to make sure that they group up to keep lockdown safe. But that gives time for Tempo Storm's ETC, Glaurung in the top lane, to get those sappers and get a little bit of control in their favor. Now Tempo Storm just trying to rotate quickly to get their sappers before Tempest tries to engage on this potentially. Those chokes can be really scary versus things like Warlord's Challenge, which just got used.
See if we can get the follow-up there. There's going to be a swift strike in. Leaping strike, we asked for it. We got it. Sign going to get the toss back in. Poison damage is going to be enough. We're going to see if Psalm can make it out of there. Dragon Arrow is going to hit. Tranquility was used, as was X-Strike. Everybody's going to stay alive, but for Tempo Storm, that has to be a positive sign, Gilly, because they have struggled to trade positively in any team fight, and now they're doing just that. It was only one, but sometimes one is all it takes.
It was finally a kill in Tempo Storm's favor, and one where they didn't lose out on anybody, though Sign did his best. He threw Psalm in, and now Tempo Storm is angry, stepping forward, taking out the towers, trying to push this lane so that they can have the positional advantage for these altars, which will be activating in 9 seconds. Good's coming down. ETC still on top, but of course he has stage dive, so that requires Good to come into the mid. So he's still soaking, trying to keep Tempest caught up in experience, but not losing out on if he needs to rotate in for a fight.
Those roots go down and say June very far forward. Cattle, he's going to walk in with the Condemn, saving that blind there, has used his Iron Skin. Here comes the stage dive. Bless shield out, Gilly.
Yeah, the lockdown was able to avoid it blinking out, but now under a heavy fire from Fan and Psalm, Warlord's Challenge will taunt Lunara, and a throw in should confirm the fate of Lunara, trading out in a 1-for-1.
Sign making the plays happen. Caterpillar continuing to be aggressive on this. Johanna uses the Iron Skin. To walk away from that for the moment. Now looking to channel this altar. Tempo Storm does find themselves down. Sign moving forward. Slow's going to be there. Glaurung and Cattle manning the front line, seeing if they can keep June protected. Now with the death timers coming off, we'll see if Zeratul and Lunara can make it back into the fight.
Yeah, without Lunara, there's just not the same amount of poke from Tempo Storm to try to scare away Tempest. Though they do have that strong front line, they also don't have their heroic abilities. The roots are good, but Psalm's going to harass in this back and get massive shoved all the way into the clutches of Lockdown, who's on the chase.
And he had the Vorpal, he had the blink, and that's going to be Psalm falling down, and that was a perfect play, getting that auto in, following the Genji over. So nice play there by Lockdown. Should also confirm this altar. The Dragon Arrow just went out there. June, that is not a good spot. Malfurion and June unable to make it out of there. That was another staggered death there as we start to look at this. 10 seconds before Genji, 25 before Malfurion. So for Tempest, they have a huge opportunity in front of them to start to open this map up. And for a while, Tempo Storm was in control experience-wise. That's about to turn right now.
You know, we've talked a lot about Smexy's Stukov. We've talked at length about June Stukov too, but I feel like we haven't given enough love to Hyde Stukov. And though we have probably given enough love to his supporting in general with his Uther plays, I know Dreadnought's a fan, his Stukov is incredible. And he is putting on a show here with this. Getting another route. Thank you very much, Hyde, for showcasing that. Stage dive, can Glauron get on top of Hyde? No, into the fray. Makes him safe.
That might have been a little bit ambitious there, and that is going to be a heroic that may or may not be back, as we do see the next altar phase will be in the bottom part of this map. So for ETC to go up there, still 60 seconds away, we'll see if that is enough time to get that cooldown back and available to try and find some control with that global stage dive in on that back line, maybe find an opportunity for a kill, because right now they are few and far between, as it's 36-20 in favor of Tempest.
It's pretty nice when your warrior player also has a safety measure in Into the Fray. Even somebody who is so positionally, mechanically inclined as Stukov is safe. Nature's Cure stops that jet propulsion. Good continuing to march forward, as is Sign. Ironskin is down with the Blessed. Try to turn this around, avoids the Groundbreaker. Can they get this kill on Sign?
Oh, Lockdown ended up coming in for the blow up there. There's going to be the VP. It's putting everything on pause. No Lunara here. See the Condemn going in, trying to find some damage, but Lockdown is the main aggressor. Zeratul is in deep. Glaurung, he's way too far extended. That's going to be ETC falling. Psalm, now he's in way too far, and this is going to go from bad to worse here for Tempo Storm. As you can see, Psalm trying to survive, but the lurking arm, the massive shove is going to send him into the wall. Confirm that kill, and things starting to spiral out of control here for Tempo.
Tempest proving that when it rains, it pours, at least when you're up against a team as strong and stalwart as Tempest. They have been able to survive so much, and their play together is exceptional as they take down the first bell tower, opening up for extra shots now off of this altar controlled. They have the 16 advantage. They've got 5 more shots, taking down Tempo Storm's core to 15 health.
Tempo Storm, they're still not completely out of it. They're still only a level down. They'll be on even talent tiers here momentarily, but losing control of that bottom lane, find themselves down 21 shots here, is definitely a huge mountain to climb. It's not insurmountable, but for Tempest, they are in complete control. And as we saw in that last game on Volskaya, they definitely know when to let their foot off the gas when they have this much control. So if they need to, they can back away from these altars. And we are also on our 5th altar phase, Gilly, which means it's triple altar.
And that means Tempo Storm are desperate to get that bottom bell tower back, but they also don't want to allow Tempest to get a free boss. They did take out and focus on a tower, which gave them 16, so they can have a fair fight over the boss if that tends to be Tempest's play, but Tempest are not about that. They haven't shown up there. They are way more concerned about keeping this bottom lane and getting some potential extra shots out of control from these sappers, and they have the Garrosh. So as long as they can move them in close enough, he could throw one in for a guaranteed one shot.
Always a little bit sneaky play to make happen there, so for Tempest, continuing to hold on as the sappers are marching forward, and sometimes it just takes a little bit. You get one in a few more minutes, you can make it happen, and as you said, Sign's gonna go ahead and get that toss 10, and that takes it down to 14. If for whatever reason, Tempest gets all 3 altars and nothing changes here, Gilly, it's lights out for Tempo Storm. So just getting one here to prolong this game is gonna be needed. They've got to keep people alive, as there's gonna be the toss in, the stun onto Cattle. Scary moment. Nothing too frightening yet, but again, Tempo Storm just needs to channel one, and hopefully, Gilly, they can take a team fight and start to turn this around, because Tempest just in complete control. And
that move was so great from Tempest, because not only did they get the extra shot with the sapper, but it kept Tempo Storm from taking back their bell tower. Now any altar that Tempest channels is even more potent than before. They get sappers behind that. They have Good in the bottom. Tempo Storm have to fight over both in the top. Maybe they could do so because Good is down in the bottom and there was the channel. They're gonna trade out the safe altar for the bottom altar. Sappers in the bottom now. Scatter Arrow stops Fan from channeling. The longer that Tempo Storm stay here, the more problematic that bottom lane is.
Zeratul on the flank, you can see him. Psalm has identified that, and he's trying to see if he can find some damage as they trade out there. Psalm traded out very well, but the Scatter Arrow in return by Dami. Cattle going in, does get the interrupt, but what will it cost them as Dami and team, they're holding their ground for now, and Psalm goes in with the Swift Strike. There's gonna be the toss. No taunt as the X strikes out for now, Gilly.
No, I think Tempo Storm are just gonna have to take this fight. At some point, it's now or never. Get in there and get in the fight if they're gonna do so. They drop the stage dive. Lockdown is all but dead. He finally goes down after dropping the Void Prison.
Fan making the plays, does get that double leaping strike, does cost him his life, but it might have been enough to help set up his team. Sign gets the heal there from high to Stukov, passes over the heels, hits that by that kill switch. Gonna get the heal. You can see the charge just misses there onto Glaurung.
Lurking.
Ooh, that's a tough one there. It should be just out of range.
But that's a long enough cooldown now that with the zoning, Tempo Storm get that channel. They survived a scary position versus Tempest, get that altar, and now can begin the slow work of turning this map back to, if not in their favor, at least even.
As they show here, with Hanzo's scatter arrow build, it's always a threat that you could see that boss picked up at any given moment. And so for Tempo Storm, they have to be aware at all moments. In the mid lane, Glaurung being assaulted there by Lockdown. They might not be done. I don't know if he has his power slide. He is not getting out of here yet. Dragon Arrow is going to miss. There goes the knock-up. See? Blinking out of there. It's going to be good. And right now, things are just tense here for Tempo Storm.
And Tempest engages have always been awesome, but their disengages this series are pretty darn good too.
Not bad, and you can tell Tempo Storm knows their opportunities are limited. They're coming in as the invade here by Tempest. The massive shove's gonna knock multiple members away. Hyde very, very low, hops into the bunker, but Sign also low as the leaping strike goes in. VP is gonna be enough, but Sign is trapped in there, Gilly.
Now there's a silence underneath this too, and that is gonna claim the life of Garrosh though.
Oh my.
But finally Som goes down. It's a 1-for-1. Cattle staying strong. Hyde still not out of it yet. Chasing forward is Cattle, hoping that they can get that kill, but the jet propulsion slows down the rest of Tempo Storm to follow up.
Good in trouble as he's trying to walk away from this, healing up from that oil. Massive shove, pushes away Johanna. Good, still surviving as the oil is lit up. Hyde supporting with the heals, not able to get that kill. We still have a 1-for-1 trade here for now. Iron Skin's gonna be used, Scatter Arrow's gonna be there. Can Lockdown get the kill here? He's gonna go in, and they do. They confirm the kill, and that is an inopportune time. ETC on the channel, but unable to do so. They do not have a numbers advantage. Tempest might be trying to look to end the game here. Tempo Storm has to get this channeled on the right side. Let's see if Lockdown and team let them.
Glaurung and Fan standing in the front. June channels, and Tempo Storm is hanging on in this game by a thread. 2 hit points left on their core. They are about to get 20, and they'll have Johanna back in 30 seconds. But now, this boss, Tempo Storm must keep their eyes on at all times.
The Wisp in that bush is going to keep a close eye on that as we get a look at the numbers there. Hanzo in this game has just absolutely destroyed people. Dami making everybody just regret their positioning, confirming a lot of this for the team. And it looks like with 20 here, no Johanna, this could be it. Tempest looking to make the play. Som, we see that there's going to be the root. And that is going to be Som going down, and now all of a sudden it looks like Tempest might be trying to end right now. Massive shove knocks him out, and that is Tempest taking this game, Gilly.
Tempest will call Tempo Storm's bluff, and they take them down 3-0. The curtain call for Tempo Storm in the upper bracket, but not the end. Tempo Storm will go to the lower bracket and hope to move on from there.
Well, that, I was wondering if they would make that call 5v4. Again, the scatter arrow just speeds things up so much, and Tempest is just like, yeah, we got this. Massive shove, no big deal. And that ended much quicker than I anticipated it.
I'll tell you what, Jay-How, we came into this second stage of the Mid-Season Brawl fearing Tempest and saying Tempest is one of the strongest teams at this tournament. But to see such a drastic shift in their play, in their drafting, and to be able to counter something as scary as Tempo Storm's Maiev, be willing to allow them to draft it twice in a row on their favorite battlegrounds and be like, yeah, no problem, we got this. That is terrifying. I would be scared even as Gen G. I don't know if it's a guaranteed 40-0, which would be Gen G's record if they could make it through unscathed. I don't know that it's gonna happen.
Tempest is normally a freight train with only one speed. It shows that they have multiple speeds here at the end of today. But speaking of multiple speeds, we're gonna speed it up a litlittle bit, hit it back over to Caleres and team, see if they can take us through this last series.
I feel like Jay Howe just called me slow, but anyway. All right, so that is South Korea not only vanquishing Europe in the upper bracket, but now they vanquish North America as well. A 3-0, and after the very first game, it really felt like they dictated so much of the pace in that series.
I mean, I definitely enjoyed that last game a little bit more. I especially love the adaptation of Lunara, the first leaping strike we've actually seen.
Yeah.
A team adapting to the slow style by trying to get those lockdowns and bursts, but Tempest just played too good for Tempo Storm there.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have faith that their drafts were going to hold water just based on how well Tempest Storm had played throughout the group stage. But I think this is just an example of two examples of where Tempest is now: mechanical skill at perhaps an all-time high, and also more ability to adapt, which has been one of Tempest's weaknesses over the last 2 years.
Well, let's take a look at the top 3 players, of course, here, as we check out some of the highlights from this series, with Tempest being very, very powerful during this entirety of it.
So there were very few actual fights here, but this is literally the last play that happened. And just keep an eye on Glaurung. You can see he's locked in death metal. Such a clutch move, and everyone actually starts to group on him, but Hyde is just too prepared, smashes him into a wall and ruins what would have been the last chance of Tempo Storm bringing themselves back into the game. The next one after that, this is once again same game here as we see all that pressure being piled on, and this is actually where Tempo Storm were maybe able to make a play. This saved them the game. The stage dive was clutch, forces out the Void Prism. Fan does accidentally kill himself with the keep here, but we'll ignore that little bit here. And here from game number 1, potentially one of my favorite moments, we're going to run this just purely in slow motion. Frame perfect Hyde dodge of the dragon arrow there after coming out of the 7-sided strike. Just insane play.
Can we watch that again? I don't know if we can watch it again.
Production, can we watch that
I
again?
don't think so, because it might just be embedded completely into that, but that was lovely stuff. If, in the back, we can watch that again at some point, that would be awesome, because that was really nice coming out from them.
I mean, I think if we look at what Hyde just did there, and actually what he just did in the last game as well, it really was like the Hyde show. For me, he was making things happen. You know, that massive shove, especially onto the ETC. Glaurung will come on through with that stage dive, and he's just like, nope. And every single time, there'd be that big note button. Not to mention that every single time he'd be in that sort of compromising position of being in that self route, there was always the idea of there's going to be good with the bunker, making sure he can stay out.
Well, back.
Full slow motion, and he's just coming out of 7-sided strike.
It's so
just
good.
so perfect. It's even to his own Earth ally. He, in the time that he comes out of 7-sided strike, has time in one frame basically to put down Earth ally and dash to it to save his own life.
We don't even need Dreadnought on this panel to still just idolize and fan what Hyde can do. The guy's an absolute mechanical beast.
Well, I'll get some of your thoughts in a moment, Wolf, of course, as we are ready for the interview as Tempest march on in the upper bracket.
James, so far Tempest dropped only one map, and it was against Heroes Heart. Congratulations with your dominant performance against Tempo Storm. At this point, you played versus both North American teams, Tempo Storm and Heroes Heart. Which one do you think is stronger?
지금까지 북미 팀 두 팀이랑 다 했잖아요. 히로샤스랑 템포스톰이랑 그 두 팀 중에서 어느 팀이 더 강한가요?
템포스톰이랑 어디요?
네, 히로샤스요.
개인적으로는 디그니타스가 더 힘들었던 것 같아요. 그러니까 이해를 못했어요. 네.
그러니까 그 북미 팀 중에서는 어느 팀이 강했어요? 북미 팀 중에서는요?
템포스톰이 가장 강했던 것 같아요.
Yeah, so Dignitas is better than both, but yeah, between the NA teams, Tempo Storm is stronger.
But if you think that Tempo Storm is stronger, why did you win against them with a 3-0, but you lost a map to Heroes Heart?
그럼 템포 스톰이 더 강한 상대면 왜 템포 스톰 상대로는 3대0을 이겼지만 히로샤스한테는 왜 한 판을 내줬나요?
템포스톰은 이제 저희가 좀 더 준비를 한 상태에서 임했고 히어로자스 같은 경우에는 이제 저희가 뱀픽 좀 연구를 하고 있는 상황이어가지고 좀 힘들었던 것 같아요.
In the case of Tempo Storm, they actually had a lot of time to prepare, so they were able to win 3-0. In the case of Heroes Hearth, they were sort of like looking at drafts, but they weren't able to prepare completely. So.
Okay, I see. But Reset mentioned that when it comes to Tempo Storm and you, they would prefer to play against Tempo Storm. What do you think they don't want to play against you because you can get a map versus them?
그 젠지의 리세 선수랑 인터뷰를 할 때 그 만약에 그 다음 당시 붙는다면 템포 스톰이랑 붙는 게 더 낫다고 했어요. 그래서 왜 젠지에서는 템페스트를 경계하고 있을까요?
실제로 이제 저희랑 젠지랑 결승전에서 많이 만났고 실제로 붙으면은 좀 많이 힘든 경기를 하기 때문에 그것 때문에 템포스톰 만나고 싶다고 한 것 같아요.
Yeah, so they've played a lot of finals, a lot of big matches against Gen G, and whenever they play each other, it's a tough match for both sides. So that's probably why they want to play Tempo Storm instead.
Okay, I'm looking forward to see that series. Good luck. Do good. Guys, are you ready for the all-star shenanigans?
I think so, but before we get there, of course, we have to kind of break this down, because I think now what we've seen here with Tempest being able to move on in at the Wingers bracket is almost, Wolf, that common destined series that we kind of, from the group stage, anticipated to see. Gen G is going to go up against Tempest in that Winners bracket final.
I think it's destiny. It's the rematch from 2016. We've drawn the path now. We've got, there's no going back from this. It feels like, unless a miracle happens, this is going to be the grand finals. And the last thing I want to say on Tempest right now is, I think the most prolific supports that have ever been in the game are definitely Meriday and Bakery, two players who technically retired. Meriday announced his return to pro gaming, but I think we might be able to make an argument for Hyde now being the best support player in the world, just based on his performance in group stage and in his matches today, as well as regular season in HGC Korea. I think people really do need to respect this player, even though he doesn't get as much press, I'd say, as Bakery and Meriday did back in their day. I think he may well be now that legendary support.
Well, he's doing supernatural things, that's for sure, here at the Mid-Season Brawl. Let's take a look at the bracket so that you guys know at home exactly where all of these teams are right now. We still have 6 teams remaining in the Mid-Season Brawl. 4 of those teams find themselves in the lower bracket. That means they have 1 life left. However, Gen G and Tempest up towards the top have 2 lives left technically and will be playing off against one another tomorrow, which is going to be very exciting.
There's a very familiar match in that lower part of the bracket there. Tempo Storm versus Ballistics, round 3. Let's see if Ballistics can finally get their revenge and continue to move through. And sadly for us too, Europe versus Europe again.
That's how things go, to be honest with me. It's as inevitable as the Team Liquid StarCraft team kill in brackets as well. But Skimmy, overall, what do you make of the bracket, how it's shaped up?
I think Gen G versus Tempest is a no-brainer. It's going to be a massive fan favorite to really, truly understand the gravity of how strong Korea are as a whole. But the Tempo Storm versus Ballistics, you saw what Hyde just mentioned before as to preparation and what they can achieve. Well, given what Tetris just mentioned, right, round 3, this time there are no excuses. You've played each other twice, you've seen what each other can do, you've experienced those hero pools. If Ballistics drop again, I think there's a big concern for them going back into their regular season.
Do you think Ballistics can take away lessons from what they just watched with Tempest going up against Tempo Storm?
I think so. You know, they're a team that's pretty intelligent. They have Jung-Ah, who can obviously break down a lot of what they do and what they draft. And I think that if they just paid attention to how those last games went and played a little bit more passively instead of diving into the explosive nature of Tempo Storm, which was also running Jaina, I think they'll have a better shot. If they can adapt there, I think we will literally know how the series is going to go after watching game 1, because it's been very much one way or the other.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen, of course, as we're going to go to a short break here for the Mid-Season Brawl. Our games for the Mid-Season Brawl bracket itself have concluded for the day. However, do not go anywhere, because we are going to have our first of our all-star matches as East clashes with West.